In the Gospels, we meet a Jesus who cared about the lives and livelihood of people, not just about their spirits. He cared about nourishing and healing them physically, cared about the context from which they came, cared if they were mistreated. So his heart was troubled and roused to compassion, sometimes even anger. Justice and politics appear to have been in his blood and bones. Jesus uses therefore the term kingdom of heaven or kingdom of God in a spiritual as well as a political sense. In first century Palestine, there were other dominions, principalities, powers and rulers, not least of all imperial Rome, who had occupied Palestine. Through his teachings, lifestyle and parables, Jesus sowed into the hearts of his first hearers and into his first disciples questions perhaps similar to these. What would it be like to live under God's rule, to align your consciousness and heart, as it were, to God's? What would it be like if life were lived having God at its center, God at its soul? And so to his inner circle, not to a large crowd, these parables assigned to us today are attributed to Jesus. Mostly and quite magnificently, Jesus uses imagery from the ordinary and everyday world to inspire, uplift, encourage, and to provoke his core group of disciples into acts of compassion, selflessness, and love. Wonderfully, Jesus uses homely images. He uses impressions from the traditional world of women, yeast used in the production of bread. Memories maybe of him as a lad standing with his mom and other women around the communal village oven in Nazareth, wrapped in the comforting smell of bread baking. Jesus uses imagery from the world of agriculture, gardening and nature, mustard seeds, shrubs and birds. He doesn't always get the specifics quite right. Mustard seeds, for example, are not the smallest seeds on earth, nor do they grow into huge trees. But that is not the point. Hyperbole is arresting your attention and imagination powerfully. In his parables, Jesus is eclectic. He's sensitive to difference and the gift of diversity, to the fields and interests of others. He uses imagery from commerce and economics, trading, selling, property and buying, and imagery from the fish industry, as if he were an expert in them all. It's fascinating to note that Jesus doesn't often use imagery from his own world, from the craft his father Joseph must have taught him, perhaps because he was so intensely interested in the lives and worlds of those who needed and put their trust in him. I wonder, did Jesus enjoy the sting of mustard on his food, or the buzz too much of it gives you in your head? Wonder, did his mother ever have to use it on him for medicinal purposes? When he compared God's rule, or that elevated consciousness God brings, to that of a mustard seed sown in a garden or field, I wonder what images it evoked in his core disciples, especially to those who thought of themselves as particularly small. What did it awaken in them? Our actions are not insignificant. Lives and livelihood matters. There's an invitation to belong somewhere, to be at home, to nest, to nurture, grow, to take flight by first falling. An invitation to share what belongs to you with others. Perhaps these were some of their thoughts. What surfaces for you? Jesus continued, God's rule is like yeast that a woman took and mixed with 3 measures of flour. His disciples would have been struck by the generosity and extravagance. 3 measures will produce a huge amount of bread that will feed more than just a household. And yeast in antiquity was more like sourdough starter than tiny seeds bought in a packet from Spar. Quietly, one of Jesus' women disciples thought to herself, God's interested in the necessities of life, bread, shelter, nourishment. God's actions are generous and impact beyond the immediate context. There's a place in God's consciousness for women, for a woman like me. What surfaces for you? Jesus continued, it's like treasure in a field which someone found. You worked towards it, but you didn't really work for it, not initially anyway. It's been there waiting for you, waiting to be found. You sometimes stumble upon it and then give your all to it. You prioritize, you divest, you invest. You sell everything to buy something and work with it. Joy becomes integral to your vocabulary. Jesus continued, it's like a merchant thinking, this is all I want, what I've been searching for, when in fact there was only one of great value that would redefine him and his priorities. What surfaces for you? What is your one pearl of great value that your heart and soul is searching for, that you need to invest your whole life into? Jesus continued, it's like a net. A number of his male disciples could resonate with this image, so they smiled and nodded, thinking he was talking uniquely to them. It's like a net, like a consciousness that helps you to discern, one that is participatory, that values your sense of judgment and ethics of hard work. Draw it ashore, sit down, discern what is nutritious, energizing, life-giving, rich in brain food, omega-3 oils. It is a consciousness that does not usurp or devalue your own. What surfaces for you when you think of God's kingdom as a net? Think like a first-century Galilean fisherman, and you come close to what may have surfaced for his first hearers. Let it have a conversation with you as a 21st century follower of Jesus. From what transpires, may you be blessed to bring out treasures, wisdoms, old and new.